Hi, Jesse, reporting this time on my farm series. Now, the first and most important thing when considering a farm of your own is containment for your animals. Now, I'll talk very briefly about my experience with this, and it comes certainly from experience with what we thought we were going to do with our animals and what is reality. So, the first part of having a farm of your own is really to ensure the protection of your animals. Now, no matter where you live in the world, there are always going to be predators. And here in the Northeast, we have coyotes, we have foxes, and we have birds of prey. So we have to first consider how are we going to uh, let the animals grow and in a place that they feel safe, and while you as an owner also feel safe and protected when you're maybe not around. So my start as a farm owner was actually with ducks, and generally that's not the place that most people start. They start with chickens, but surely at some point you're going to end up with some ducks on your property. So we started off with 4 ducks, and we got them from babies, and in the process of doing so, I wanted to make sure that they had a free roam place that would contain them, especially when they were younger. So behind me, I actually built this extension off of the side of my barn. And my barn has 5 stalls. It has 3 access doors. I have 2 on this side and 1 on the other side, which is where we keep our goats. But this building outcrop is actually something that I put on. It's built of pressure treated wood. It has hardware cloth that goes around the entire perimeter. And most importantly, what you will see a lot of people doing, and this is something that I adapted for my use as well, is that actually we dug down but below the soil level here, and we stuck hardware cloth underneath so that it prevents raccoons or foxes or anything like that trying to dig underneath and get access into this containment area. It's probably a little overkill. I've yet to really see anything kind of go that far, but it is something that we used to protect the outside, and it generally didn't take that much work after I had built this entire area outside. It also has 2x1 up top, and everything is galvanized on the outside. So I'd highly suggest that if you're going to put anything out here, you want to make sure that it's protected from the elements. So spend the couple extra bucks. Do not get it cheap. Buy something that's galvanized so that it won't rust over time. Now, I've had this up here for about 3 years. You can see I have a little bit of green up top, but for the most part, this thing is rock solid, and it provides a considerable amount of space for my animals to roam when I know that I want to keep them in a safe space. It's also connected to the stall door on the outside, so that allows them to have easy access in and out, whether it's winter or summertime. I also have a small roof on the top as well, which is quite nice. Ducks love the rain, so they don't really need to be covered, but it does provide some nice protection on the outside. And then down on the ground, prior to me actually putting all of this pea gravel down, I had dug a trench with a perforated pipe, and I also dug a 4-foot well, because all of the soil here is not really soil, it's all clay. So none of the water percolates down through. And because we had our ducks here for a considerable amount of time, I wanted to make sure that when we sprayed that down and cleaned all of the poop and all of that stuff that's on the outside, it would give me a place for all of that waste to go, because if you don't have a place for that, it's just going to sit underneath the rocks, and it could probably get a little smelly and gross. So I actually thought ahead, and I dug a 4-foot well, and I filled those in with rocks so that any of the water that I used to spray down this area will then percolate down through and away from my barn. Now, we used to keep a pool out here, and that's where the ducks used to hang all the time. We've moved on from that, but this right now is basically a nursery for any of our new animals. It gives them free range of a space to be outside while also giving them a really good protection. So what I'm going to show you now is how I have done the protection now for the goats and for the ducks and all of the animals that I have on my property. Okay, so now I'm on the other side of my barn, and you can see there is a stall door access on this side, and that stall is where we keep our goats. So we have two Norwegian Dwarf goats. That one is Bonzo, and Snoopy is right over there. That's where they stay at night, and that's where all of our animals, when they're outside during the day, have free access to both inside and out. But what I did want to show you was that I have this fence behind me. Again, not very traditional, but if you see any of my other videos, I try to upcycle anything that I have around my property. So there used to be a fence out here, but it was falling apart. And so what I did was I reused some of the fence posts that were already existing. And then I cut down a considerable amount of trees in this back property area to actually make this containment for the animals. And in doing so, I actually then took a chainsaw and I milled all of these pieces that actually go around the rest of my property. And you can see it's quite a large space. I think it's somewhere around 1,500 square feet. So I tried to make the use of the things that I had around me to use them as the upper rails and the bottom rails for this fence in this containment area. Now, the reason I chose to go this high with my fence is because foxes are serious. If they want to get at something, they can climb and they can jump. And also I wanted to make it so that my animals also can't exit out the top. And so I made these fence rails at least 5 feet high. My goats can jump, they can't jump that high. My chickens also can fly, but they really need a lot of energy to get outside of that. And these ducks, they aren't going more than a couple of feet high. So it's protection both for your animal, and it's also protection from coyotes and foxes on the outside. And so I chose the 2x1 hardware wire that goes around. It's galvanized as well. I just secured that with a staple gun. This took me nearly about a half of a fall to get done, but I'm super pleased with the way that this came out. I can replace these boards up top anytime that I want, but it does kind of give it a nice little outdoorsy, whimsical look that'll go along with the rest of my barn. So now you can see the containment area that I have here for the animals. And then what I'll show you is also the containment that I have for my chickens. Okay, so now I've moved inside of the containment area where all of my animals roam. And I'm now standing in front of the area where our chickens sleep at night and where they are contained. Now you'll probably ask yourself, why do you have containment within the containment already? Well, there's a really good reason behind that. One is when the chickens were small, I wanted to make sure that they were protected basically from any hawks or any birds that are outside that might want to try to pick them off. And the second and most important reason is that our goats absolutely love the chicken feed. And goats are not really supposed to be eating grain. It's really not good for their digestive system, but they do love sweet stuff, and that is generally what's in the chicken feed. Plus, they will also eat all of the chicken scratch as well. So I actually have to think, and you need to think as well, how are you going to separate the animals while still allowing them the access that they need to still be free and kind of roam around? So what you'll find here is I had actually built this small little cottage back here out of some old wood that I had cut down around the property. And then when we decided to get chickens, which were actually the third set of animals that we got, I then decided to convert this into the chicken coop. And then I actually built this containment area that now goes outside and around that allows the chickens to have that type of access whenever they want. And certainly when they wake up in the morning and they come outside, my goats are knocking over my piece. But when they come outside in the morning, they will be able to roam freely around here while still having that containment that they need. Containment, if you'll look here, I have basically pressure treated wood that runs a little bit around the outside of the space. And then you'll also find that I have a door here that allows me full access to the animals when I need to go in and then clean out the coop. Then I have also located on the side, I have a small access window that I actually have built, and it's nothing fancy, but this door allows me to then put the chickens in for the night, and then they are completely separated from the goats. And I will tell you, I had to spend a considerable amount of time building this hole, because the goats, no matter how big they may be, when they want food, they will find a way to get to it. So as soon as I built that door, they dove right through it. So you want to make sure that it's small enough just for the chickens to fit through, and big enough to make sure that the goats aren't going to be able to get through as well. So I hope that's a really good idea about the containment that I have here around my property. But you can see during the day, the animals really have free range outside, which is really lovely. And I feel quite safe with the things that I've put up and the barriers that I've put up around my property to ensure that when I'm not home for the day, that I feel that the animals are safe and protected. The last thing I'm going to mention is just the idea of free range farming. Now, it's really a great idea in theory, but I can tell you I learned from experience. When we first had these ducks, my wife and I had decided that we were going to let the ducks roam free in the backyard. And I learned a very valuable lesson, that as soon as there was an opportunity, a fox actually came and killed one of our ducks. I spent a lot of money in the hospital to save one of our other ducks. And so my suggestion is, as much as you want your animals to be free, you're gonna have to go in with the understanding that you're probably going to lose an animal or two if you don't have a defined area for which you're going to be allowing those animals to roam, while at the same time feel protected. So that's just a cautionary note, and a reason why I brought that up is because you really do need to make sure that you're thinking about these things well ahead before you get animals. So I hope this is a good intro series to having a farm of your own. Please continue to subscribe to my channel and follow along for the rest of the series, and share some of your feedback in the comments. Thank you.